welcome back to the channel. Got something different for you today. The 740 is buried in the snowbank, so it's going to be a little hard to get that one out to finish filming. So this thing's a little more capable, so we'll do a walk around and I'll show you what I did, and then we'll go for a little cruise. Yeah, so it's a Mitsubishi 4D56T out of a Pajero or Challenger, and there's a few other little bits of trickery to make it work with the rest of the Volvo drivetrain. So first things first, you're probably wondering why it's a lot taller than a stock one. First reason is it's got 30-inch BFG mud terrains on it. Second reason is I lifted it a lot. It's got extended front strut tubes, still stock springs, and then in the rear it has front lift coils from a Jeep XJ, and I think they were 4.5 inches of lift or something like that. Extended front control arms, so that your camber's not all goofy, and then Jeep Vanagon shocks in the back. And still has sway bars, everything else like that, because I didn't want it rolling like a ship in the high seas. And custom front bush guard, that's just some pipe, and roof basket for style points and more wind resistance. And that's all about it for the outside. We'll go on under there because people probably want to see that. So this is a Mitsubishi 4D56T, like I said before, 2.5 liter turbo diesel. It's IDI, and I can't remember what the stock horsepower rating was, but it was very close to a red block, and actually it's very close to the same kind of orientation as a red block. These are factory rad hoses, factory throttle cable. Most of that little stuff was all plug and play. It's still a factory Volvo rad. This is definitely not ABS pipe wrapped in gold heat tape. Before anyone asks, it's been there for about 5 years and 60,000 kilometers, and it hasn't melted yet. So yeah, but it does work, so you can't knock it. This motor wasn't intercooled originally, but I clocked the turbo, and with some glorious steel tubing, it does have a front mount intercooler now just to keep the EGTs down. And people probably want to know about the transmission, because that seems to be the hang up on most engine swaps. This one has a KM 132 from a Dodge D50, which is also, don't quote me on this, I believe a rebranded Mitsubishi Mighty Max pickup. So two-wheel drive, obviously, and that bolts right to the bell housing pattern of that block. So that was actually pretty easy. Custom motor mounts, custom trans mount, custom drive shaft, same as all the other engine swaps. But the shifter and everything else like that lined up pretty much perfectly, and now it's a true 5-speed, not a 4-speed plus electric overdrive, so that's nice. Full set of some autometer gauges, water, oil, boosts, pyro, and volts. That's glow plugs. That's something to do with the defrost not working. Everyone knows about 30-year-old Volvos. There's also water methanol injection on this one, just to help on the big hills, but it does really well. We'll go for a drive and you'll see it's pretty much about same as a red block, arguably better, with a lot better mileage. So GT steering wheel for style points, and 2 cup holders because Volvo decided to put in 0. Let's see, under there's the front Jeep lift coils, inch exhaust with a muffler, and still stock diff, still open stock diff, which really limits this thing off-road. It looks capable, and it's more capable than a stock one, but not enough for how gnarly it looks. But I do have a G80 that's going to go in eventually. Roll through the gears. We hit 100. So this is one of my first builds. It's yeah, like I said, 5 or 6 years old now, so it's been great. Put about 60,000 K on it since we did the swap, and yeah, I'm definitely a fan of this drivetrain combo, and it's like perfect amount of power. I actually did the engine swap before we lifted it, and it was, I would say, fast. Like compared to a stock red block before we put the big tires and stuff on it. And yeah, I would get about 600K to a tank, which I was super stoked on. Now it gets about 350, 400, which is still better than a factory red block and way better than one of these lifted with a red block. I've talked to a few friends that have done that. But yeah, it's a great little motor, nice and smooth. Pretty quiet in here. It's mostly tire noise and just old rattly Volvo noises back there. And yeah, the transmission, the gear ratios feel just about perfect. Clutch and everything else like that, like it doesn't do anything weird. It just, you get in it and drive it. And you know, it's got a little bit of a whistle. The turbo is actually a really small, so it makes like spool instantly, which is good for drivability, not so good for power. But this was never a power thing. We did turn the pump up a little bit, but I didn't want it to just roll coal everywhere. That's only cool if you're drag racing big diesel trucks, in my opinion. But I'd rather keep the fuel in the motor, not out the tailpipe. Yeah, but just drive around and a little bit of condensation in those. That's what happens when it sits for 2 months. I wasn't expecting ice there, but there it was. On the whole, I'm pretty stoked with this build. It's been really fun. Gets good mileage, gets lots of looks. Everyone asks if it's 4x4, and no, it's not 4x4. I don't feel like putting a solid axle in it or independent or something else like that. I just take the body off and put it on something else if you want to do that. It's way too much effort. If I had to do anything differently, it needs a locked rear end or some kind of traction, track lock, posi lock, G80, something. I have a G80, but everyone knows they're not that strong, so I can't decide if I want to do that or, you know, pony up and put like a lunchbox locker or something in it, or just weld the diff. That would work too. Because as I said before, it looks capable, but it's not really. Like, it'll spin one tire in the gravel pretty easily or the snow. You know, we were thinking, oh, we'll go get some cool footage of like rattling down the logging roads and, you know, all the trails and stuff like that. But I did get stuck in my driveway. So we're just like, we'll just drive around and talk about it, and maybe in the future when I get a locked rear end, we'll take it down some mild trails. Maybe like a winch on the front too. That'd be cool. So at least we can pull it out if we get it stuck. More sound deadening. Should definitely do more sound deadening. Any motor swap, just put all the sound deadening in. Doesn't matter what motor it is. Just put sound deadening in. It's nicer. Maybe another muffler. It's got one, but you know, another one would be nice. And like most of the other stuff is just fixing old car problems. Everything fogs up because the windshield leaks and the seals leak. You know, it's got rattles. The back hatch opens sometimes when it feels like it. Everything. I mean, so like as far as an old Volvo goes, it's in good condition. That's like all normal things. But yeah, I built it and I just been driving it, and I need to like pull it back into the shop and give it a once over. And you know, but I mean, it drives straight. Like, it's a good car. I don't know what else you want for. I think the motor was $700, and they are known for cracking heads, but that's why we intercooled it and put the big exhaust on it. And I also got the pump rebuilt when I did the swap because it was all gummed up with junk. So I know it's running properly. Yeah, so far I've been really impressed with it, and the future, probably just the stuff we talked about, and just keep driving it. I mean, it's gas is almost $1.80 a liter here in British Columbia right now, so diesel swaps for dailies, definitely the way to go. It's got front leaf, or I can't talk today. Painful to listen to myself talk. It's pretty, hang on, you have a look, see what I did. I don't like that.